I think we're good.
Okay.
Everybody, you alive? All right, we'll get started. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 21st Town Council meeting. We'll start our session with a Pledge of Allegiance and then an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, I'm kind of reminded of, and I know a lot of you will catch off guard when I say the shortest verse in the Bible. It says Jesus wept. Jesus didn't cry because of the loss of his friend, because he knew the Lord that was waiting for his friend. The glory, I guess, in heaven for our fire department and our brave firefighters would be every set of tones as a fire run, and there are no EMS runs. Jesus wept because he saw the people that loved his friend, that they were crying, they were mourning. Today, I think the whole town of Mooresville cries a little bit because we lost a good friend and a good public servant. Let's pray. Dear God, you remind us that blessed are those that mourn, for they will be comforted. This council asks that you comfort the Metzger family, the Mooresville family, and everyone that loved Tim. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I'll now call the meeting to order. The meeting is in order. On our first item, as Councilman Wortham just alluded to, we lost our fire chief here recently, and so we're going to have a moment of silence for Tim Metzger and for his family. We also have his jacket here in front of the town seal, and Tim served, I think he said, over 30 years in fire service with the town of Mooresville. He was here 26.41 years. So our moment of silence will be 26.41 seconds, and I will do a countdown for that. If you could all please stand and face the town seal, we'll begin with our moment of silence. And then afterwards, I'm going to give the council a moment to speak about Chief Metzger if they would like. Thank you. Members of the council, does anyone have anything they'd like to say about the chief?
I think Tommy said it best. We've lost a great friend and a great leader. Tim had a lot of years of service here, was dedicated to the town, and he's going to be sure to miss.
Although his sense of humor will be missed also.
I said it on Saturday that we lost our chief, and not just a chief. And he was a part of the Mooresville employee family. We all have each other's back, as wacky as hard-headed as some of us are, but we will continue to have the Metzger's family back forever.
I think for me, when obviously I don't want to make it about me, but I'm a little bit of a controversial figure. And after the first few months of working with Tim this year, I never, I didn't really know him prior. And I remember about the third meeting I had with him, he said, "Shane, you're nothing like they told me you would be." And that struck me, and I told his wife about it at the showing, that he said that, because I think it showed what kind of person he was. I think he probably gave everybody he came across a shot and a chance, and I thought that was a pretty neat thing. And I agree with Tom that, his humor, the guy was a cut up, and I think it was good to have that sense of humor. And I also wanted to mention that I think our fire department, police department did an awesome job of honoring him. Dave Moore with the street department, where he was involved with the bells here at the church. The processional was really something to see, and I'll never forget it. The flags, the people had flags, the flag hanging. I thought it was really a real fitting tribute. And then I found out, and I guess this is typical of fire departments, that once the chief arrived at the funeral home, our fire department people from, I think it was ours, but also others, never left his side from whence he arrived all the way to when he was taken to the burial. So they stayed with him 24/7. The funeral director had to give you the keys, didn't he? And so that's really something. Not many of us would be honored like that, and it shows what kind of person he was. So, anybody else? Okay, we'll go on to the next moment of business here. From the previous meeting, July 7th, we have the meeting minutes for approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item, unfinished business. Item A, summer sewer rate program. And we have Beth Copeland here and sitting in for Julie, and I believe you drafted these ordinance
I did.
yourself. So would you mind describing what they are, or do you want me to?
Whatever you prefer, sir.
Go ahead.
There are 4 different ordinances that are here before you. 2 of them, they're almost all identical, but 2 of them offer a 3-month option for the sprinkler credit. The other 2 offer a 4-month credit for the sprinkler. The difference between the 2 3-month and the 2 4-month is the administrative fee that would be incurred when the applicant files. So either a $25 fee or a $50 fee. This program would be run by the clerk treasurer's office. The applicant would file their application by June 1st of each year. Once the application is processed by the clerk treasurer's office, then it would be automatically, the reduction would automatically reflect on their bill for either the 3 months or the 4 months. And because the water cycle is retroactive, it would be for, even though it's June 1st and you see it on your July bill, it's for the water for June, if that makes sense. So it'd be July, August, September, or July, August, September, October. And this is offered for persons that have installed residential irrigation system and pools.
I don't know nothing about this. When did this all come up?
That was a joke in case people didn't get it.
Because I know it's going to be asked, is there, since we've already passed June 1st, what are we going to do for this year? Or is there a, what are we looking at here?
My understanding is that they do want to implement this year, that once you pass this, I'm also under the understanding that if this is considered by council, that you're gonna suspend your normal rules and have 2 readings on it tonight so it can be adopted, that it would be enacted immediately, and persons could file applications and still see that reflection for, depending again, if you do the 3-month or the 4-month option, they'd see it the 1st September would be the first bill, but if you do the 4-month option, they would see it for September and October. Is that kind of my understanding of we still want to do it for this year? So yes, we're past the June 1st deadline, which will be normal from here on out, but because they want to implement it this year.
Yeah, there's a sign-up sheet there. Pass that down, Shay. I have a
I'm
question.
sorry.
The fee you're talking about, implementing here, is that a one-time, is that a 365-day blanket, or is it per month? Like if you're saying there's a fee to do this, that's a
Annually,
one-time fee.
annually.
Annually, okay.
If I decide in 2021 that I want to file for this, I pay that, correct. But if I decide in 2022 I do not want to do this, then
I was just making sure it's not per month.
oh no, there's a one-time filing fee, just to cover the administrative expenses that the office is having to incur for doing this.
Okay.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion, but I know John really wants to talk.
I just had one question. You've read through these and they don't put you in a bind in your system?
Whatsoever.
Okay.
We made sure that all the dates were in alignment with our meter reading that we're looking at for the billing cycles. So
Okay.
they're fine.
Okay. So the next step then would be to open the public hearing, correct?
I don't know if you want to make your motion to try to suspend this before or after you do this. But you're welcome to have public comment first.
Then you would suspend the rules, then you would vote.
Someone has to make a motion to suspend the rules.
How do you want to proceed?
To maybe save some time and some energies, I am all for the $50 4-month version. And I would make a motion first that we suspend the rules to approve this on first reading.
What is the other one? My email's been out for 2 years, so I don't have any of this. What is the other one? $50 fee, and what's the other one?
25
25. Where will that money go?
into the
The sewer miscellaneous.
sewer.
Sewer.
I would like to ask a question at some point. before-
Oh, you'll get a chance, you'll get a chance. Why don't we still have to have the public hearing, correct? So, let's just do that first.
Okay.
So I can open the public hearing, so the public hearing's now open, so John, go ahead and come up.
John Earhart, 5485 East Commons Drive in Roosevelt. We really appreciate what you've done and the work towards this. My only question is, why the 25 versus 50? Does anything really change between the 3 and the 4 month for a fee to change?
What was that question again?
The $50, 25 versus a $50 fee, 3 month versus a 4 month, has anything really changed for that fee to change?
They haven't been, she's presented us with 4 ordinances. 2 of them are for 3 months at $25 and $50, and 2 of them are for 4 months, $25 and $50.
Oh,
So, I mean, we actually have before us the option of 4. I know that the one example you brought me, like Plainfield, they want $100 to do it. So, we're trying to beat that.
you said we're not Plainfield, we're Mooresville, right? I mean,
Our water-
I only brought this up 12 years ago, so,
That's
Our water's capped.
yeah, right. But yeah, I just didn't understand why that fee can't be 25 on the 4 month option.
It can,
Okay,
the
it can
council
be?
just has to vote. yeah.
Okay,
There's 4 options for them to vote on.
okay.
And that's my opinion. I mean, we're trying this, we're gonna give it a shot. I think we've seen the numbers and we were pretty pleased with what we've seen. I think 25 or 4 months would work. You know, we can always evaluate that at a later date if it becomes a problem. But right now, I don't see it being a problem. That's my opinion.
There, Matt, did you sign up for the summer survey? Okay.
Did I get it?
What?
Did I sign it?
Yeah,
No.
you signed it.
My brain's not here.
Okay. And then Lester, you can come on up if you want to.
Yeah, my question would be, my name's Lester White, I'm 127 North Lakeside Court. Is that fee going to be every year, and do we have to fill out a form and go to the office to get this so that it goes through for every year for this to be reduced? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, you'll have to file.
We have to fill out a form and give it to you?
Give it to the clerk's office
Yes, yes.
every year.
Every
Because
year.
let's say you move
Yeah.
and you no longer, and now you move into a residence that doesn't have an irrigation system or a pool, you wouldn't want to come in and
Well,
file
I
this
just
application.
moved to that, so, yes. But when I heard you say that, so every year you have to go down here and fill out a form and pay that fee, and then you get that reduction on your bill.
Unless they come up with a way to do it online, then
Okay.
yes, you'd have to come every year and fill an application out.
All right?
And I think we can send message reminders out on the bill prior to the expiration, reminding citizens to renew start.
And Lester, the application will be available on the town's website as well. So you can print it off at home. Anybody else on the summer sewer rate from the public? Okay, back to the council then.
Well, then I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Now we would need a motion to suspend the rules, correct?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
I made that motion, yes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Now you need to decide which one that's.
I know, but I don't make the motions. So somebody's gonna have to go and see if they get a second, I guess. That's the way it works.
We have an option of $5 million for pay for the project.
I make a motion, we do the 4-month, $25 fee.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. So now I need to figure out. Let's see. What if I signed the wrong one? These are the 3 months, right? But I want to verify for me.
Signed during the meeting.
Yeah, and we're gonna start that because we keep having issues. This is the right one.
Yes.
That'll be ordinance 10.
Okay, and that was ordinance 10.
And we need to approve it or just suspend the rules, just vote on it one time, and then approve it. Do we have to vote on it one more?
No, because you suspended the rules, your one vote is
Thank you.
sufficient.
Pen is looking all over. Next item on the agenda is the gateway update. Thank you.
I met with Ballard Irrigation this week. They're going to turn the sprinklers on for the I met with Ballard Irrigation this week. They're going to turn the sprinklers on for the flower beds down in South Indiana. I think I've got a pretty good plan on what I want to do there. I haven't had any applicants apply for the part-time positions. I think the feds are still handing out $600 a week, so probably won't get too many applicants. But I've got a plan. The street guys are going to start on doing some improvements down through there next week. I think you'll all like it. We'll see. I don't have an update on the lighting for the torches. I tried to give him a call today, but I think he's still waiting on the parts to come in for that. That's all I have on the gateway right now.
Okay, any questions from the council? Thanks, Dave. Next item on the agenda, the Christmas Fund Ordinance 7, 2020. Now, this is just, if I remember right, we've voted on this already, but we're just needing to sign this. Is that correct?
I would have to look at your minutes to confirm that you voted on it last time. I know that there was a concern about the title, so that was the only thing that has been changed.
Yep.
It's
So
already been voted on.
It's-
approved it before it did have, it did reference, it wasn't titled as it is now.
Yeah, and we were,
And how it's titled now is how the ordinance was passed, or how the motion was made and passed.
so we just need to sign.
If it's been
It
voted
has.
on, then yes, you just sign it.
It was, I'll sign it first. Right. Well, and,
I'll know those answers.
well, Jewel was gonna have it last meeting and it didn't happen, so that, I believe that's correct. Next item on the agenda, police vehicle equipment. Chief?
Come back now with the actual figures for the cash that was received from the vehicle that was just recently totaled. That was $32,131.45. And then I confirmed with the clerk's office of the other vehicle that was totaled last year, and that was $18,087. That's a total of $50,218.45. And what I was wanting to do was use that money to get the equipment that I talked about last time. I can do that rundown again if you would like that rundown.
Is this stuff that we would
Need to outfit the two
we're taking out of
additional
these, we're taking out of these cars to put into
Which we already have.
which we already have?
Yes.
Okay.
Two cars right now are already outfitted and striped, ready to go. And I was just notified we got all of the registration paperwork today. I will make that so with Councilman Cook's permission, I will make that somewhere else.
The only question I have, and this is this preference, the mobile radios, we're paying $8,022.90 per radio. 16,000, how important is that if we've got the same radio on our shoulder?
You mean for the in-car?
Right.
These don't always get out, especially if you're down a Senator or something like that, you're backing up another agency. And even some of the gaps down by Merriman Road, you have the possibility of not being able to get out. Not to mention how sometimes whenever the 800 system is trunking, these for some reason, you'll get that tone because the system's trunking or something like that. Whereas in the mobiles, you don't necessarily get that all the time.
So what's the difference between the portable and the mobile?
The mobile's for the car, the portable is what we wear.
Mobile stays in the car. I didn't know we were having radio problems out.
It's been an ongoing thing, all the agencies have that kind of issue when they get something like this, even though we have excellent coverage with the 800 antennas, still, every once in a while you will get that where you can't get out.
That on the shoulder is a portable camera, or a portable radio?
Yes.
And we're sold 4 of them
Correct.
for current employees.
Well, actually, I'm only asking for 3 of those, I believe. I didn't check my graph. Well, no, it is 4. We have 2 because we got 2 new guys that are going to be coming on. Actually, well, we need 3, and we want to have 1 for backup.
And no backups in.
We have no backups.
When we first got the radio, did everybody have one? I mean, we haven't added new officers for the radio.
Well, we destroyed 1
Oh,
in a car crash, and then we got on another additional reserve now, that's compared to another one. So now, that's why we're down.
who was the original?
Mark Harris.
But he turned one in when he retired,
We already issued that one.
so we can hire. right?
Yeah.
So the $52,000, is that the 3 or 4 cameras?
Before 10 APMs. And some of that is we are trying to replace some of our Provision cameras because we have had issues with ours.
No, I'm sorry, the radios.
Oh, radars?
The radios.
Oh.
Portable radios. Is the $52,361, is that 4 or 3 of the portable 800 radios?
Oh, what did it say, $16,000 with 2 radios, we can do that, or that, it's not getting out on the floor, well, that's, safe.
But if we save the $37,000, that stop, we put it in the service. We don't have to rob other things.
Right.
Because we may need that.
Right.
For other things.
Right.
Here, we can do that.
Sure.
And that is the way to wash.
Yeah, that's the 4 radios.
That's 4.
So if we drop one of the $3,700 radios out of there,
If we go with 3 radios,
Yeah.
is that gonna put the fine on you right now?
I will work with whatever you give me.
but every radio that we got is new.
Yes.
I mean, so I mean, it's not like we're having to replace worn out programs. I think everything we got is either 4 or 5 year warranty.
Correct. And we got, I can't remember the exact figure of the replacement cost to put into that 32 or the 32,000 that we got, but that was in that, the reimbursement that we got, or the town got for that radio.
My concern, speaking with Jeff, is that if we drop one of those radios, since it's maybe a want and not a need, if we drop one of those radios, then it's a wash on the insurance pay. That leaves that $3,700 in your budget for a cushion, because again, we don't know how we're gonna be as far as funding at the end of the year. At the end of the year, everything looks good. We had committed to paying the top portion of that, the first payment out of rainy day, and looking at your budget to see what we had left
Yeah.
there. I mean, ideally, if we get fully funded, we were fully funded, and for 3 months, gas was at $1.90 a gallon, hopefully we'll have some fuel money or something we can move around and maybe get that radio. But it doesn't put you on a bond, in a bind as far as funding, because we will fully fund these purchases if you're comfortable dropping down to 3 radios.
Worst case scenario, we'll have 3 full cars. One of those cars, we have had to use a portable instead of having an old radio. three of our full cars out, I can't see how that we will.
I guess I'm really confused. Because you're buying two mobiles. Mobiles is what's mounted to the dash, right?
Yeah, the mobile, or,
And it's hardwired to the car.
Or-
yeah, it's in the car.
So,
Those two will be, I see what you're saying, you're talking about the portables, disregard what I said then. I see what you're saying. Go ahead.
but I'd rather say 8,000.
I tried to say 60.
I don't have a problem with making this purchase with these funds.
With the three.
With the three, and we're not overspending. He's not having to go and search and pillage through his budget as it stands, when we don't know if that budget will be fully funded. You need a motion for that?
I-
So moved, the purchases as presented with the line item of, 3 radios.
Okay, we,
Portable radios. 3 portable radios.
okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Can I go ahead and give you an update on the sirens, since I have some information about
Chief,
that
before
right
we do that real quick, if you run into a problem and need that fourth one, approach the council back and we'll do that.
We'll find it.
Right.
Or had Motorola to throw that third one in because it's full.
So Chief, do you want to just give your department head report now since you're up at the podium?
Yeah, the only real thing I had was the sirens. We finally we'd had a problem with the first circuit board that they sent, it was bad. Don came out from Federal Signal and it's been in. Now we're going to transfer the computer over to attach it to the siren systems. Once we get that done, with your permission, I'd like to set up a test to make sure that they're all working on that. Once that's done, we will start working on the automated and get you the final draft of the SOP. Is that okay?
Monthly test, monthly audible test going
Yeah,
forward. It's
so we want to do a
tested-
test right now just to make sure everything's working once we get the new computer and the sirens all connected together now.
Okay, and when is that? Do you
We're going
know?
to try to take care of that this week.
So,
Within the next couple of weeks, I'd like to do a test,
okay,
just a regular test to make sure everything's working, and then we can go ahead with the automated system and getting the SOP to you guys.
okay. So what time do you think you want to do it, at 11 a.m. or?
Yeah, like
5?
on a Friday, we'll do 11 o'clock test, maybe next Friday, as long as Steve's got everything done and everything like that, and I will keep you abreast. Hopefully, we'll have confirmation before the end of this week. I'll get with you and let you know that we're solid for next, and then we'll start advertising, if that's okay.
Okay, let's make whatever you make this next test, let's make that, if we can. I mean, it's your SOP.
Okay,
Make it the same as what the.
well, we're gonna do the SOP
Yeah,
as
so
far
if
as
it's-
monthly,
If it's,
the last Friday of the month, or whatever we decide upon.
yeah,
Okay.
and at the same time.
Okay.
I'm curious, can I ask the audience what they think about this real quick?
Sure.
How many of you think a Friday at 11 test is better than a Friday at 5 test? So Friday at 11,
That's what Indianapolis is doing, isn't it?
okay, Friday at 5. Okay, Friday at 11, 1, so maybe go with 11 instead
Okay.
of 5.
Will do. Did anybody else have any other questions, or? Thank you.
I didn't get the vote. Did you ask about who wants it every day at 5 o'clock?
Yeah. Sorry, Tom, I'm sorry, what's that?
You just have a 503 list all the time.
Oh, it's not on my agenda.
You got it.
So the next item on the agenda, town roofing bid, and I think the attorney's gonna give us an update on this.
I spoke with Mr. Lee as I was driving down here, and he indicated to me that if whoever has bid on the roof, they have a change order that they have requested, is that my understanding? That if they insist on the change order occurring, that we should dismiss this bid and move to the next responsive bid under that. So if whoever bid on the roof can in fact do it for what they bid on, for the cost that they bid it, we should move forward. If they refuse to do what they bid at the cost that they bid, then we should decline it and move to the next one.
Has that been, he's been in contact with.
With their attorney, and they had not given us a go-ahead of what they will do. But that was his recommendation, if between now and the next meeting, the communication happens. They make a decision if they're actually gonna move forward on it with what they bid, then that's fine to move forward. But if they do not, he would suggest that you guys move to the next responsible bidder.
Do we need to send out a signature request letter to the contractor? How do we need to proceed as far as?
We've been in contact with the attorney.
Okay.
We're waiting for them to decide if they're gonna do what they said they're gonna do, or
Do you need us to put a deadline on it?
that, sure, yeah, if you would like to do that. And if they don't give us a response by a certain date, we can just tell them we decline it.
Waited long enough on this, I think. Are we gonna run into problems with other bids? I mean, a lot of times prices fluctuate, I'm sure. And is, like, some bids are only good for 30 days. I mean, how many days have we gone into this?
I don't know when this was actually bid
Long
out,
time
but
ago.
So, I mean, are these other bids, are these gonna be going to stand by those? I don't know.
Being one of the bidders, yes.
Pardon me?
Being one of the bidders,
Okay.
they'll stay by the price.
Okay.
I have to think
And
they
you
want
have
the
to set a
business.
deadline on them, or we won't.
Sorry, say again.
I have to think they want the business.
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we give legal counsel permission to put a deadline, even if they have to send it in writing, some type of notification back that they at least received it, if not acknowledged it. And I'd like to see that done by our next meeting so we can move forward. That is in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
So just so I can get clarification, your next meeting is on August 4th. You would like to know before
Yes.
someone is sitting here on August 4th.
I'd like that to be a drop dead date on confirmation that they're going to move forward.
August 4th at 6.
Do what?
Because your meeting's at 6:30, so
Yes.
could we say August 4th at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the vacate alley, Mr. Holloway, and both of these next two are Mr. Holloway, so.
I think, Mr. President, it might be the next three, so
Oh, okay.
if I might, I've got a handout to sort of clarify this, what we're requesting. A little on the crude side, and I apologize for that.
Would you say your name is?
This is a request actually by Arvin Hopkins and Mary, who are the owners of the roads and streets within villages of Eastmore, down on Bridge Street, second section. And the first sheet is part of the Morgan County GIS. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see next to a cul-de-sac, I sort of blacked in the area that we're discussing. The second page is a little more detail of that. The house belongs to Steve Buchanan, and you can see we sort of highlighted the area to be vacated. It's an unimproved alleyway sandwiched between Buchanan House and the common area that is north of it. It appears that there's no desire on anybody's part, including the town of Mooresville, to improve that alley. And you can see from the detailed GIS, it's very close to Mr. Buchanan's house, and in fact, depending on how reliable you think the GIS is, sidewalk might be over into the alley. So our request tonight is to vacate that portion, or the alley between what would be the north-south alley to the west and the street to the east, which is Point Pleasant Court. And I'd be open to any questions you might have.
Was he in violation of our side setback?
Well, that's a good question. This is a PUD, and the side yard setbacks, I think, were negotiated, but I'm not sure.
I know that when this passed, the town at no point in time gave any indication that they had any desire or wanted to accept the alleys as far as for maintenance.
That is
So
correct.
why is this not a plat change? Why is this something that we can?
Because all the alleys and streets, whether dedicated or, back up, all the alleys and streets, the rights of way, were dedicated to the town of Mooresville. The town has not accepted the alleyways, just the streets, but there's still a dedicated right of way to the town. So the intent going forward will probably be to replat it. But we can't do that as long as there's, the town has an interest in this right of way. Because per the plat, they were dedicated to town. Town hasn't accepted them, they're still dedicated to town and the public.
Was there any beliefs or thoughts that that alley would be a public safety since it gave an in and an out to that?
It is, quite frankly, so narrow that it probably, I can't imagine the public safety folks, fire department particularly, wanting to take any kind of vehicle down there. And if you look at the houses, they've got more than adequate frontage on both tiers of lots. And the lots are only about, I think, 100 feet deep or something like that, maybe 115. So it's not like it would be an access problem. In fact, I'm not speaking for the fire department. From my point of view, it's probably more of a detriment than it is a plus as far as public safety goes. You get back there and then what happens? The whole premise of this design was after development in Indianapolis North Side, where they're using the small lots with the alleys that, like we used to have back 100 years ago, and what we still have in Mooresville in the old parts of town. And that just never did fly. People didn't like that, and they still don't.
Sir, if I may, the landowner, did they send notice to all the property owners that abut their property?
It's my understanding they did.
Do you have any kind of proof of that?
I didn't have it with me, but I can get that. And if they didn't, we'll come back with due notice and.
Yeah, that is required under the statute to make sure, and I also want to confirm that the legal description that you provided on this document, the parcel number, the property address, is that the actual property that you're requesting being vacated, or is that an entire lot?
That is the entire lot to the south. The property to be vacated does not have a separate parcel number or an address, because it's part of the overall street system, alley system.
Okay. We would have to provide something to the property owners that abut that actually gives as specific as possible. I understand that it's an alleyway, but something that's as specific as possible to notify them. And this council needs to have a hearing on that.
And I understand that.
Legal counsel, what do we need to do to move forward or stop this?
I would like to confirm that was a petition actually filed, or is this done orally? Is anything written and filed with
We
the clerk?
actually submitted an email to the clerk's office, and we got some correspondence back, and I won't go into that, but that's why we're here tonight without notice or anything like that.
Okay. I would suggest that and I can certainly email you directly if that would help, and
Yeah.
CC the.
Yeah, and I know the
President,
process,
clerk.
I've done it before in other communities, but this time, because of the correspondence we have, we did.
Okay. And give you specifics in the statute that outline exactly what
Right.
you have to include with what the petition that you file with the clerk, and then send to all of the property owners that abut that. And once they do that, this council has to hold a hearing within 30 days,
Right.
and I suspect that they could probably do it at their next meeting. If
And,
that would be something that you want to move forward on.
I think there might be legal notice required. in
There
paper,
is.
too.
Mhm.
And that's fine.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm staring at it. I can either give you the number, the statute number, if you want to write
No,
it down, or I can
no,
email it to you.
I've got it, I don't have it memorized, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. So until those happen, we have to make sure that the property owners that surround it have had due process. They've had notice of what has happened, and then you can have a hearing. At your hearing, I'll have an ordinance for you, that if you decide to move forward on this vacation, that you would review and sign, and that's all this council would have to do.
What kind of time frame is that? Will you just let us know?
Let me think about this. The notice in the paper, probably has to be at least 10 days before the meeting. So that, pushing it for the first meeting in August would be tough.
Probably be the second meeting.
Probably be the second meeting in August. By the time we get notice out, 10 days before the hearing and all those things.
Unless you can do it this week.
Well, given our paper, that might be a little tough.
Yeah, because it comes out tomorrow
Okay.
and Saturday. Yeah, so we'll take a motion to table.
Motion table till our second meeting in August.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Next item is the Ferguson Road rezone, and this is ordinance number 9.
I believe I'm here for that also.
That's right.
This is, was approved by the Plan Commission, and really, it's more of a housekeeping issue than anything. The Allison family replatted and platted again some of the lands around the family homestead there and the business. And there was one strip that we needed to reorient because for access purposes, and then it needed to be rezoned because it wasn't incorporated in the original plat. If that makes any sense.
Does- That's what was presented to us the first time when we rezoned that from ag to industrial. It looks like that plat is, that parcel is on it.
That parcel, but what we're talking about, if it doesn't show up, is a narrow strip that runs down through here. And it doesn't show up on the GIS because of the scale and the narrowness of the strip.
So where is, on this map, that is lot 1 in the
But
Allison subdivision.
unfortunately, this won't reflect it because the plat is so new, the GIS.
Why is that picture included with your submission?
That I don't know.
Okay.
What should have been submitted would have been the subdivision plan that was approved by the planning commission.
Well, where you're talking about that being, it's not on Ferguson Road, that'd be on County Line Road.
That's right. It is on that one. But the property address for the overall parcels is off of Ferguson Road. That makes sense. Convoluted, for sure.
So is it east of Tom's house?
Yes. Yes, there's a strip, I wish I brought that with me. There's a strip goes out to Allison Road that was not included in the original plat. Just want to stay with the house. Then they decided that they wanted to give them access back by his house, so they then replatted it. Now, the zoning has to go through, so it matches up parcels to the south. Does that make sense?
I'm trying real hard. Does GIS show it as a,
The GIS would show, now it's not up to date because it was just done last month, so it hadn't caught up with it.
but it showed the ownership of them east
Yes.
of Tom's house, not Rick.
Right, east of
The
Tom.
very east parcel.
Right, let me see if I can pull it up here real quick.
Ross, does this show it?
No, it doesn't. That's what we're saying, that
Okay.
that's out of date because the plat was, changing the plat was so recent.
But does it show ownership of it?
The ownership is in George and Clara.
Does it have frontage to,
That's running on the south of the lot, on the north on Allison Road.
Allison?
Or not Allison,
County?
county line. can show you here in just a minute, I think.
Got this little dash right there.
You can see it here. Well, almost. It's to the west.
Is that little strip around there? So that's. And then how is that 3 acres? 3.5
Well,
acres?
because when we reconfigured this, it just doesn't show and incorporated that into it, then made the entire parcel. But we just didn't plat the whole strip, we replatted the whole thing, incorporated it. We figured out 3 acres.
Ross, do you still have that pulled up?
Excuse
You
me?
still have that pulled up, or did you? I'd like to see it too.
That little strip there that was incorporated into a replat of the lots to the south.
The one between them?
And the reason it's 3 acres, because it was incorporated into the strips to the south, which were reconfigured.
Or what are all the lots around it? How do they zone?
Industrial, except for George and Claire's house.
Ross, is that gonna be any parcel directly behind
Yes.
their house?
Everything behind it except the house is industrial.
So,
Oh, will be.
we planted this here separate from this.
Yeah.
Is that what you did there?
And now we basically reconfigured it, include the strip, so now, that's why you've got a 3 acre parcel instead of just a strip. It's complicated, believe me.
Fisher pricing. I'll try real hard, but don't use big words. Maybe I can get it.
Complicated is about as big as it gets, because it was platted, replatted, and then replatted again to address this issue. But it's all industrial.
We're basically rezoning that little strip.
Basically, that's what you're doing. And everything around it will be industrial except George and Claire's house. And that's the bottom line.
The ordinance 9 that was originally sent out had it as, did you get that changed? Were you able to get that changed?
I changed the name.
Yes.
Yes.
Should show this versus now.
Is that big enough for a roadway to go back there?
It
Yes.
would be for access purposes and things like that, but it wasn't intended to be fire trucks or regular access or anything like that.
Will be an improved road.
No, will not be.
Do we have a motion?
So it was a positive recommendation from the planning commission.
Yes.
I think it was unanimous, wasn't it?
Unanimous.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the planning commission and approve ordinance 9/2020 rezoning that said property.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Are you also
I'm here for
representing?
the Stewarts also.
I'll give them just a second to sign and then we'll go on.
I'll pass these out.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, so the next item is sewer hookup, County Line Road. Mr. Sean Stewart with Ross Hopkins.
And I apologize, we had a miscommunication, and it was my fault. I wasn't here last time, and so I want to make that clear. Quite frankly, I was home watching TV, but anyway. So the request, unusual to say the least, is for the town of Mooresville to provide sanitary sewer service for tonight's discussion, 2 parcels north of County Line Road. And to be clear, the parcels lie in Hendricks County. The one parcel is basically immediately northwest of the intersection of Indianapolis Road and County Line Road. The other parcel is at the intersection of Hendricks County Road 825 East and Hendricks County Road. So the one parcel that's at Indianapolis Road and Hendricks County Road preliminarily would be platted for 36 lots of 15,000 square feet each. These would be custom homes. Streets would have curbs, gutters, sidewalks. Anybody is familiar with Hendricks County's development standards, they're pretty rigorous for residential subdivision. The same would be true of the other subdivision at 825 East and Indiana Street, County Line Road. And that would be 12 lots on a single cul-de-sac. The platting, zoning, all those activities would be under the preview of Hendricks County. These lots presume, for their size, that sanitary sewer and water would be provided. There's a very, very large water main, I believe it's 24 inches, maybe 21 inches, that runs on the north side of Hendricks County Road, the entire length through both of these projects. So the nearest sanitary sewer is a sewer down on 267 that goes to Plainfield that it would be difficult for these parcels to get to, and it's debatable whether there's adequate size of the mains in that area. The purpose of the discussion tonight, because this would be a little bit of a convoluted process, a little big words, because should the town of Mooresville provide sanitary sewer to these 2 parcels, that then would trigger some activity between the town of Mooresville, Hendricks County, potentially Plainfield, but none of this land is in the annexed area of Plainfield, but they might be in that conversation. I know there was some discussion at the last meeting about capacity. This is sort of a first step, because what would happen is that should the town of Mooresville want to enter into some kind of either an interlocal agreement or something like that with Hendricks County to provide sanitary sewer to these 2 parcels, then that would trigger some other things that maybe a certificate of territorial authority or some other issues like that, that maybe capacity studies for the towns and things along those lines. However, before you go down that road, the town of Mooresville, the providing service entity, would have to agree to provide sanitary sewer. I know there was some issues about capacity and assistance, some things like that. If you use IDEM's requirement of 310 gallons per single-family home, both developments together would only require 15,320 gallons per day. Put that in perspective, a leaking faucet, 1 drip a second, wastes 3,000 gallons a year. So these are new homes, so we wouldn't have any leaking faucets, but it just puts you in perspective of it's a small amount of water. Not to say that you still wouldn't want a capacity study, because at the end of the day, even as we get all the way down and everybody has agreed that Mooresville will provide sanitary sewer service, there's still IDEM requirements, and one of those is that your treatment plant operator, system operator, has to certify that you have capacity. If he doesn't certify that you have capacity, it doesn't go anywhere, regardless of the other agreements in place. So that's where we're at tonight.
process of this? Are you familiar with this process? I'm not.
I do know that you're either going to have to enter into an interlocal agreement with Hendricks County, or you could annex the property. And you still have to get permission from the commissioners in Hendricks County. So either way, we need to talk to Hendricks County if we're gonna move
And
forward with
exactly,
this.
and that's why we're having this discussion. If the town of Mooresville is not interested in any way, shape, or form of providing sanitary sewer north of County Line Road, Hendricks County Road, there is no reason to spend any more money or time pursuing this. However, there are some economic benefits to the town. It's not property taxes, obviously, but there would be some sewer revenue. But also, because of the location of these subdivisions and disposable income for people who would be building here, they're going to use the services, and those services on Mooresville are stores, are trades, or things like that. And so there would be some economic benefit to the town. And the flip side of that is no expenditure of services, no fire, no police, except as they have mutual aid agreements or something like that.
Would there be different rates because of this situation being across the county line?
I think you
don't
can
think
have-
there would be.
I think there's some statutes and there's also some case law that bifurcated rates. If there's unusual situations where it costs more to service them, you could, but in this case, I don't believe the cost to service them would be any increase over your normal service areas. Having said that, you've got to realize too that the cost of physically extending the sanitary sewers completely falls on the developer, 100%. The town is out $0. Another question has come up, I think it will come up, it hasn't already, is this setting a precedent? And, you know, that's a two-edged sword. You could say, well, yes, it is, but then again, it's whatever the town of Mooresville and Hendricks County Commissioners would agree would be the area to be served. It could be limited to these two parcels. However, if you're going to go to all that effort, you might want to look at enlarging the area to incorporate maybe more of that land immediately adjacent to County Line Road. But you don't have to. It's all in the negotiations. But you have to be willing at least to take that next step, which costs then the developer the money for attorney fees, engineering, and all those types of things.
And I received an email from Mike, he just plain said, Plainville won't let Mooresville serve north of County Line on a permanent basis. They consider temporary solutions for Sean Stewart and Dick Ross, but would have temporal stipulations involved. Shane knows this also. What am I missing? What have you been told, or what's been said from?
I've seen that email.
Who's
That's
that
about
from?
it.
That's from Mike Dellner. So I mean, has Plainville made that comment in? Because you said that they're not annexed, but they do have contiguity on the one parcel, on the east parcel.
And this has come into play. We represented a client back about a year ago maybe that was interested in buying the Ross property. Plainfield, if you look at the master land use plan for, I think, Hendricks County, because it's not annexed yet, shows that area basically east of 825, east of Indiana Street, north of that to be open space, green space. And Plainfield has made no bones and not bashful about the fact that they would like to expand Solaris Park to the west. No question about it. However, it's also true that Solaris Park, except where it comes down along County Line Road, for the most part is about a quarter mile north of County Line Road. So there would be a strip through there that I think County and Plainfield would be willing to see possibly something other than open space. And that brings us to the question of the town of Mooresville's issues with drainage and possibly looking at a regional detention basin, which would have to be in Hendricks County also. So it might be an opportunity to open up discussions on all of those. Maybe a win-win for everybody.
The property north of this property, the mitigated property,
That,
the Plainfield purchased from the airport, is that correct?
no, it's north and east of this property.
Yes.
North and east.
But it's touching this property.
Yes, Don, no. The Ross property, the Ross family owns a property immediately north.
I think Plainfield owns right at the north of that.
They-
That little lake.
You can't see the line on here, but
From Beacon, it shows it right above, right north of that.
right here.
Yes.
Right.
And that was mitigated property.
Yes, for the backs.
Yeah.
But the property to the west, which is agricultural fields, the Ross property is not. But Plainfield would like to see it incorporated in Solaris Park.
Some Ross property, you mean?
Yes. Whether that'll ever happen or not, I don't know. But their master land use plan shows for the Ross property basically to be open space, green space.
You know, I still, my big questions are, this develops here, and this in no way talks about, the developer. I know that you just put a lifetime warranty on their faucets and sinks, when they do develop it. But when Uncle Eddie shows up here and we get a call that the infrastructure is not working, and this is fully developed here, and the HOA is going out, then that infrastructure, then we have problems there. So we would be sending our employees across the county line to work. Granted, we do the same thing out at Lakeside Commons, but we do have the opportunity at some point in time to have contiguity and be able to annex.
Yeah, this is not a question of annexation, never will be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At no point in time are we gonna say, yeah, we may be able to go out there. Today, if Lakeside Commons calls and says, hey, we've got a problem with our mains and sewer lines, we go out and address that with our back truck, with our people, with our equipment.
But, and I understand your argument. The same way though, these new, would be new sewers to current standards and inspected, I would hope, by the town. And that would be the only infrastructure in here that the town would be responsible for, but then again, you're receiving the revenue for that too. And if it's brand new infrastructure, I would hope that it'll be 100 years before you have to do anything. So, but the question is, and why we're here tonight, is the council willing to provide sanitary sewer for these two parcels so we can proceed with those next steps that would be required to make that happen?
Again, I know the developers, I trust them 100%. The zoning goes with the property, and we have no control of the zoning. We don't know what Hendricks County is going to come and say. We have a little taste of what Hendricks County, how they'll work with us, with our drainage issues that we've had from up there. We have not been met well. We've also had, there was a question at one point in time, whether we could do anything legally, with that ground up there. And I think at that time, the rumor was that the Ross brothers had requested annexation from the town of Plainfield. I don't know if that was a bluff to keep us from working on our drainage issues, but we've been fighting drainage issues. Hendricks County washes their hands of us. Plainfield has no control at this point in time. If there was a way to put in stone that this developer was the only person that was ever gonna do this, that would make me feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy. But this here, we have no control over the zoning. We have no control over, this is ideally the lots that they're thinking about. But that goes with ownership.
Well, that's true, but this process is not going to happen overnight. And with a commitment from the town of Mooresville to provide sanitary sewer service, would also allow us to proceed with the Hendricks County folks as far as plating and those types of issues. Because this density is their lowest density, single-family residential outside of agricultural areas or state lots or something like that. So, I understand your concern, but Hendricks County's requirements for this type of development, curbs, gutters, everything else, it would be zoned, by the time all of this took place, you would have preliminary plat approval or zoning approval from Hendricks County.
If Plainfield has continued to, then is this zoning and planning and everything in their buffer zone?
It is-
They have non-jurisdictional?
It is not.
They
It's
have
Hendricks
no-
County.
They have no non-jurisdictional?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. None, zero. We'll be dealing entirely with Hendricks County. We went up there once and got approval for 8 or 9 state lots, but their infrastructure requirements were so stringent, for lack of a better word, that 10 lots would not support the cost of the infrastructure. The lots would have had to been extremely expensive, way beyond anything in the Mooresville, Plainfield market. So, that's why we're here today, but in order to make this happen, it would have to be provided with sanitary sewer. Water's no problem because their water main runs right along County Line Road. And as part of the negotiations, it could be just these 2 parcels, but it would take a partnership, an interlocal agreement with the Hendricks County Commissioners. It may be that they're not willing to do that, so we're dead. But this is the first step. We can't go any further without the entity that's going to provide the sanitary sewer service agreeing to do so to allow us to proceed. That's where we're at.
Can I ask a dumb question?
There are no dumb questions unless you ask the same one twice.
Why would we not want additional sewer revenue?
Well, particularly since it doesn't cost you anything except the cost of treatment and conveyance. And the sewer system would be tying into, part of that analysis would be, does it have capacity? I believe from what I know about your plant and the improvements that have been made over the last 10 years, the plant would have capacity, but the conveyance system would have to be studied. There's no reason to do those studies unless there's some, at least, commitment on the town's part to provide sanitary sewer.
I mean, this is far closer to town than Lakeside Commons is. It's one parcel out of road.
To Tom's point, without the consent of the Hendricks County Commissioners, you cannot annex these parcels. So the tax revenue would not be there. However, historically, single-family residential does not pay for the services that it uses historically, because usually their income tax rate is capped so low. But you wouldn't be providing any of those services other than, like I said, some kind of mutual aid. So to the town, there would be no cost. Those people living here would probably do most all of their purchases in Mooresville. No impact on the Mooresville schools because they're going to go to Plainfield. And you get the sewer revenue from a sewer system that's brand new, installed to your specs.
That runs through 57-year-old infrastructure.
That would,
Were you part of the Arlington Drive, St. Clair lift station when the Perry's, the Sunco developed that?
Yes.
The council said that extra burden, we have to put a lift station and pump that east.
And-
Because of infiltration of our private sections of that, of our wastewater treatment.
and that was before you went through all the projects when Joe Biden was here to lining sewers and tightening the system. So that in of itself, and I haven't looked recently to see the Arlington Street lift station, but yes, we designed that for that very reason. But I know since then, the system has been tightened considerably.
Our system, our publicly owned system, our
Right.
private system, which is still bell and flange clay tile pipes, in the new addition built in 1957, we still have some influent infiltration.
No question about that, but that is what the study would tell us, is there capacity? Remember, I started out saying there's two capacity issues, there's the collection system and the treatment plant. What I know, the treatment plant probably has capacity. The second question then is, does the collection system? And you're right, that's something that we would have to analyze, and whether it would be going down through the old part of town, as we used to call it, or new part of town, or Indianapolis Road and Indiana Street. So those are things, though, that we can't proceed with until we know there's at least a commitment from the town to provide that service, should we be able to cross all those hurdles.
Has there been any turnover on the Hendricks County side as far as the council?
You know, I don't
Commissioner.
know. The Hendricks County folks, we did a lot of work up there, is that they have very stringent and rigid procedures, and you follow them.
But I mean, is there an opportunity to maybe forge a new relationship with them?
You know, that it never hurts to reach out. I mean, I've been one to never burn a bridge, and so, even though some people said I should. So the request tonight is, if all logistics can be met, that would be agreement with the Hendricks County Commissioners, that would be analysis of the collection system and your wastewater treatment system. If those things could be done to the collection system, particularly for the satisfaction of the town, and the Hendricks County Commissioners were in agreement, then we could move forward. But without this first step, there's no reason to proceed. But I think it is an opportunity for the town.
Well, we'd be better off if they had reasonable faucets over there.
Not necessarily.
We're gonna have to give a water permit.
But these houses, because of the cost of the infrastructure and the cost of the development, will be some moderately expensive homes. Sean, you want to say how much? No.
250 to 400. And can I address Tom's concern about drainage?
Yeah, not on your property. The drainage, you already addressed that. I'm talking about existing problems that we have today.
Well, I'm talking about land or water flow off the property to the town of Mooresville.
No, I'm not.
He's talking about
You've already made promises on that.
to the
You
west.
made those commitments before that you're gonna run over to another. What we're having now, am I right? I mean, isn't that what the study showed, Virginia? What we're having now is other issues that's west of you.
Weston doesn't even impact your property.
Doesn't impact your property. I appreciate what you said, though, because that was a relief also, because you could have canted that a different way also.
And that's another thing to point out. His project, these two projects, have zero impact on that issue. Zero. However, Shane was saying it might be an opportunity to open this up again with the Hendricks County Commissioners. But we did a study years ago, before Banny got involved, that showed the same thing. It's going to take a 5 to 10 acre regional detention basin, and it's going to have to be there. And without a willing seller, somebody's going to have to take plunge. So, but we're not discussing that tonight, other than the hopes that this conversation might lead to other conversations.
What are the options for a motion then? Just to start a conversation or what?
Yes. Is there, I don't even know that you necessarily need to have a motion because you're not trying to pass anything. At this
Right.
point, do you just want to have a conversation about, are you interested in entertaining this idea?
I think from Sean's point of view, I don't necessarily know that this takes a motion, but we need some kind of on the record saying that the town of Mooresville would provide sanitary sewer service to these two parcels, provided that we can meet the criteria. That being the system analysis is appropriate or good, and that the Hendricks County Commissioners are in agreement. If they're not, then it doesn't matter.
So I
But-
can open it up for discussion for council. At this point, just open it up for discussion, and if you can reach something unanimous, if you want to move forward, we can discuss some sort of motion
Okay.
in the format of that.
Do we have a motion of some kind or discussion on this issue?
Sean, you guys know how I felt about this all along. We've turned people down before. We've looked at this. We have capacity-wise from that direction. We're gonna open some up because one of our main users on that end of the system is going to move to the south end of the system. So the argument, do you have capacity? From that direction, yeah, we probably do. But we don't know what's gonna go back into that bill. We don't know if we would have a high-end user of water there. We've been accused of trying to make too much money off of our wastewater treatment plant. We run that wastewater treatment plant as efficiently as possible. And past history shows that we don't address the rate increases as we should. They go 10 years, they go 20 years, they go 26 years. It is usually reviewed or looked upon as a tax increase whenever you try to raise a publicly owned utility rate. So to say that it is a profitable deal to just add users to it, I don't know that it is. I don't know that I agree with that. But you used some pretty good words there, so I still may be
Well,
confused.
most of your costs are in treatment, because the collection system, provided it doesn't need maintenance for leaking I&I, is fixed. I mean, that plant is gonna run their pumps and their blowers and stuff like that, and the contribution from these two developments will be so small, the impact on the plant is infinitesimally small. But your rates, whatever they are for sanitary sewer, would be, as far as I'm concerned, basically extra revenue for the system. Because it's gonna be brand new, and that's assuming you've got collection system capacity. And you've got to remember, the only reason we're here is because all these costs will be borne by the developer. The analysis, attorney fees, negotiations with the Hendricks County Commissioners, all of those costs would be borne by them, none by the town of Mooresville. And, but this is just an opportunity to provide some extra revenue, some economic benefit, because they'll be spending their dollars, and most likely in Mooresville, and potentially opening up another conversation about the issue to the west.
I'd like more information. I don't see how I can make a decision with everything presented tonight, like kill it right now. That's my opinion. I don't see that. There's a lot of questions floating around in my mind that would take a next step to answer.
So
you know?
what are they?
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of steps to this, it sounds like, and I'm not as dead set against it as, I don't know if Tom is, but
Diane?
yeah, it seems like he is. I look at it as an opportunity for the town, but
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this then. If it's acceptable to the council, is continue this for another meeting, and I'll get with my client and we'll explore maybe doing a system analysis, maybe a small one, particularly on the collection system. We will confirm with the wastewater treatment plant operator your excess capacity, and we might approach the Hendricks County Commissioners about, see if they're interested. It could be that they'll come back and say, well, what's Mooresville say? and then we're in the proverbial catch-22. But sounds like tonight, the best thing would be to continue it till the August meeting and see what we can do.
Well, I think at our last meeting, we had asked, we're willing to listen. My issue still is running it down in Indianapolis, with that old system there. I don't know if Dave knows that, but I think we're running through 27 or 29 bi-levels and tri-levels that we have problems with on.
Let me do this, give it Dave, and we'll look at your system, we'll see where the connection points would be for these two proposed developments. And we can even put flow meters in the sewers and see what the flows are and see what the excess capacity would be in the collection system before we would be tying in.
Before he does all of this and spends all of these resources, I would like to ask the council to confirm, if there are 3 of you that are dead set against this and it will never move forward, I would hate to see a business expend this kind of money. I have to suspect most of us would. But if you want more information and you think this would be helpful, then I would agree that you should continue it to the next meeting. I just don't want him to spend the money and have his client spend the money if 3 of you are absolutely dead set against it.
Should we just ask for a motion?
I would say that, keep an open mind. Mine's like a person, it's only gonna work if it's open. But I've not heard anything yet that would change. I don't want to waver from what I've already said at previous meetings to previous developers. So, that's where I'm-
Let me just say this, it would be up to my client, and I appreciate your comment, is whether he wants to expend the funds or not. We might come back here or get a hold of you and say, we're not going to pursue it, we're gone. But the ideal to expend those funds to do the studies, satisfy your questions, would be entirely up to him. If they choose not to do that, we won't be back. If they do, then we'll be on, but it would be on them entirely, and I do appreciate you looking out after us a little bit.
Motion to table till the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
I would reach out to my elder, because I don't know, that was a very vague email.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that, I don't know who he had talked to, I don't know if you guys know who he had talked to on that temporary, do you know anything about that? You did?
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
I've talked to Henderson County a handful of times on this.
Okay.
Sean, would you mind coming to the mic?
Sure.
Sorry, buddy.
Concerning his email, he was talking to town manager Plainfield about the situation. Well, Plainfield doesn't have any governing jurisdiction over this area right here. So, but at Henderson County, we've been through numerous meetings on the previous development, and they're all for sewer. It was actually a suggestion of theirs when we were trying to get lots in there on septic, it cost more to possibly sewer. So Henderson County was all for it. Mike was talking to somebody in the town of Plainfield about the whole Ross property itself. Mine, just my little parcel, just was included in that whole conversation.
We'll get that clarified then.
Part of this property is in Plainfield jurisdiction, the Ross property.
Yeah.
What if it is, been annexed into the town of Plainfield?
No, I don't think
According to
so.
Mike, that was just according to Mike.
And
I thought
unless
it was
it's,
contiguous to,
unless it's the extreme east side of their property,
I thought it was contiguous.
we can find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ross. Next item on the agenda, Roberson Woods drainage, and if you don't mind, I think I'm gonna have Dave come up first on this.
I provided each member of the council a copy of the plat and the covenants and restrictions for Roberson Woods. I think the homeowners are having an issue in their backyard. The swale is silting in, filling in with dirt, and causing a backup of water onto their property.
Can we see this?
If you follow at the entrance of Roberson Boulevard all the way back to the T, they are lot 49. The infrastructure that was put in place there, it catches, there's 3 different catch basins there. Catches all the runoff from the southwest, from the south and the east, and it diverts the water to their backyard. And that's where the problem starts. You look through what's supposed to be the swale down there. I don't know if some homeowners have filled it in intentionally, causing backup. Or if it's just the amount of silt over the years that's filled it in. I'm not really sure what exactly happened to cause that swell to fill in. There is a discharge pipe in their backyard though that is blocked. I've met with the family a couple of times. My hands are tied somewhat to send the street department in there to fix it, because it does state in the covenants and restrictions that the drainage easements are to be maintained by the homeowners. I was reading that one. It's very small. I tried 11 by 17, but you would be I'm not gonna have last one. Hey. See little sheets of paper, but the FDA still needs like 3,000 to describe some of the cabbage.
I called you because I received a phone call from Shane Coons. He was talking about this catch basin and then saying he took that catch basin temporarily plugged in. He felt like the curb line was running down here. Well, where's our catch basins do with it here?
Sends it to the northwest. There's a retention pond that services both this area and some of the Roberson.
Okay, but it's underground here.
It is.
But you're afraid that if we do temporarily plug this, we're gonna inundate this down here.
That is a possibility. Without engineering showing the flows of the water, the topography and the sheet flow, we could send too much water to that catch basin, affecting the homeowners in that area.
The catch basin, and I know I'm jumping around here in town more, but on the edge where we put a plate type adjustable discharge. Is that correct? Where it would be hairline?
That is correct. Yeah, it doesn't catch it, it expels.
Well, no, as far as what actually is going to go through it, that is adjustable to where we can adjust how much flow goes through that. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, that's correct. Sorry, I was thinking of your pictures. Yeah, it is gated, we can raise it and lower it. Start to flood masses, upstream, raise it up, and there's more water. We have done that in that area.
But is that something we can add to an existing catch basin, or do we have to engineer that into a new catch basin?
We can add that in-house. It's not that big of a project. some filter socks that is catching the sediment that's washing in from the streets. But in turn, that catches the water and doesn't let it drain as efficiently as it's designed, so our streets flood. And I've had people in my office really upset about that. So, we've tried a few different things. Problems still exist.
So we plugged the Rosewood Lane when we plugged with that being plugged.
Yeah, that intersection there stood in water for a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's like it's sunken down a little bit in that corner over the years, and I think it just kind of collects there.
I know Jeff said that he'd been out there, and he was telling me that the road was getting pretty bad. I'm supposed to go out there tomorrow.
It does seem as if the road is sinking in that area. It is a very, very deep depression in that area, and the curbs are breaking as well. Still travelable. There's something going on there.
You can see the asphalt buffer in spite of like that.
Does anything feed that underground to that catch basin? Do we have, I can hear this collapse and something going in, that we're starting to,
And we have looked up all those pipes, they're all in good shape. Now, the question, it's an extreme amount of silt. It is, he cleaned it out 3 years ago, and it's already silted back in, which I tend to think that in the past, in the entrance along Roberson Boulevard, they have rows of trees that have grown out over the road. We've never been able to thoroughly sweep after we salt and sand in the springtime. And I kind of thought maybe that was all washing down and causing the problem.
Are you talking about the Bradford pears that they're doing it?
Yeah, those trees are creating several problems. But and it's quite a bit of silt. And there's rocks, decorative flower bed rocks that you can see that are above the one catch basin in the corner, that the sediment is full of those types of rocks that are in that flower bed. So it's washing down across the flower bed, picking those up and discharging them into her backyard. Their backyard.
What flower bed is that, the same one?
It's the catty corner from their property. The homeowners, I think, just decorated it. It's in the right-of-way strip, kind of surrounding a water hydrant.
It's the same corner that's currently sunk in a little bit.
Yeah, it's the southeast corner. Yeah,
Okay.
it's dropped down.
Did you have a proposed idea?
Jeff and I were out yesterday, and a cheap fix, lack of a better term, we could build a brick and mortar structure that would allow the water to come in. It would be like a catch basin, but it would allow the water to discharge. It would come up and discharge throughout their yard, but it would catch the sediment. The next idea, I think, would be rebuild the road, changing the pitch, like Tom mentioned, to send the water down to the cul-de-sac to be discharged. I've met with Wallace Construction out there, and without putting pen to paper, he thought that would be around $60,000 for that. If the town wanted to entertain that idea, that would be the cost for that, without engineering.
Could we do something with that area, like where all the rocks are, that's on the easement there, that they're going in there, take those rocks out, put something else that
It-
stops it from going in there?
It is our right of way, we could do that. We had a filter sock in there at one point. I think that one of the residents didn't like the fact that it was making the water back up, and it disappeared, let me just put it that way.
could just add, the rocks coming into our yard are, it's a byproduct. That's, we could clear those rocks out, put something else in that corner right of way, but that doesn't solve any of the problems. That's just a after effect of our backyard flooding. So removing those rocks wouldn't fix anything.
Well, if we put something in there, I don't know, I'm just talking about here, like concrete, and put a wider sidewalk entrance, something in there to where stuff's not going down the drain, the sediment and stuff, because that's where you're saying it's coming from, correct?
There's a drain
There's
directly
three.
north.
Yeah, there's three. Right.
The one directly north also leads into our backyard.
I think the rocks from the flower bed is just a fraction of what they're receiving. But it is some of it.
What do you recommend, Dave? What would be your first thing to do?
Since we don't have the right to be there to work on it, if the council would agree, we could put the brick and mortar structure in there, and then we could, fill it in with dirt, and all they would have in their yard would be a metal grate type thing that would be flat, flush with their ground. They would be able to mow over it. It would be very inexpensive to do that, to try something like that. Again, inexpensive. The sediment would still have to be cleaned out, but it would be contained in a box. But again, it would go back to the homeowners would have to maintain that, I would think, since it does state in the covenants and restrictions. But I don't know if they would agree with that. We'd be building a structure in their yard.
Does that box hold water?
It would hold water, and we'd have to shoot the elevations to make sure that it would drain the road here and let the water discharge here. If it was too high and not possible, and made water stand in the road. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I'd rather try to look for other solutions. I don't wanna create a ponding issue or standing water on the top.
Is this a town issue causing a private property problem, or is the private property, is there something the private property owner should have to do as well? Like, in other words,
I think they've made a really good effort to try to maintain it, but in my opinion, I think that the problem started west of them, with the swale being filled in over time or on purpose. I don't know. It's supposed to be a maintained swell from there to the drain, the detention pond. However, it's,
and we have no easement, like, we have nothing to get in there to clean it out, because it's all private property.
right.
There is an easement back there.
Yeah, there's a drainage easement.
There is an easement, however, the covenants and restrictions state that.
The homeowners take care of it.
We could take equipment in and reinstate the swell is the correct fix. However, that's a major project and it's going to be tearing up a lot of backyards.
Suggestions?
Is that an area on the list to be paid next year? Do you have a list made yet, or no? Because obviously, I think ultimately we would fix that area. We're gonna have to.
Our paving list is comprised of a PACER rating. Every year I evaluate the roads. That area does have a very low PACER rating. So it's going to be close to the top of the list when I do that one again.
The PACER rating is what he refers to there is what we send to the community crossing matching grant. Now, who knows whether the state of Indiana is going to have revenues available for that. The one light at the end of the tunnel is, what we complained about before with the state of Indiana saying that half of our MVH funds have to be used directly on road repairs, which put a burden on our general fund of the MVH. But yet it is a non-reverting fund, which would allow us to have the matching funds for the grant if they offer. I want to say that MVH fund is around $170,000 a year that we have to put into that as a non-reverting. So I think if we look for something extremely temporary today, we can do something long-term with a total rebuild of the roads and because part of the community crossing matching grant helps us with the infrastructure also, the drainage and the infrastructure. But I don't want to just kick the can down the road. I'd like to look for something that we can try to address. Because I know if we come up with something that we can at least try, it'll never rain again. Because that's the way it works for us. I do have a commitment that I'm going to go out and look tomorrow. I'd like to have at least until the next meeting and kind of come back with some brainstorms. And I don't know, Shane, did one of you guys contact him?
Yeah, we've had
Seemed
him.
real knowledgeable and I mean, real
Yeah.
willing to at least work with us.
Yeah, he was really happy to talk to you yesterday.
Okay, so I mean, it just, I'd like to spend a little more time on it if we could. If you at least know that we're trying.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
So,
Okay.
can we at least put it on our agenda?
Yep, fair enough. Next meeting, well, next meeting. So do we need a motion to table it or just, no? Okay. Thanks, Dave. Next item is new business, park board sign request.
Did you guys have another question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Coombs mentioned when he talked to you that one of the possible temporary solutions would be putting a bladder in that drain. And he just asked that I address that tonight to see if that was still something as a potential short-term fix.
I talked to him at 5 o'clock yesterday evening. I spoke to David Efer this morning. And Dave's concern, and I guess maybe I got too excited because I was so happy that, hey, here's an idea that's thinking inside the box, I guess. And Dave really showed some concerns of, let's make sure that we don't do anything that's going to cause troubles downstream. I mean, I don't want to mess up your yard any more than what we have, but I also don't want to flood someone's house. So that's why I want to get out there and get some eyes put on it. That's why I mentioned that we have a gate type valve that we can put in there, and then in an emergency get it back opened up. How quick can we get the bladder out? But I don't think there's anything tonight that we took off the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda under new business is the park board sign request.
The Park and Recreation District was recently notified. We did have a sign that was in violation of the sign ordinance for the town. And we, quite frankly, didn't realize that ordinance had changed. It was our oversight that we didn't know that. The ordinance the town has on location and placement indicated that signs may not be installed in the following locations: any public right-of-way unless specifically authorized by the legislative body or their designee, and also in any public park or other public property with the exception of those signs that are specifically permitted. And the sign that we had was the movable letter sign down at Indianapolis Road and Samuel Moore Parkway. And we have used that through the decades to notify people of Old Settlers Halloween hike, the concert series, the special events that we have at the park. And we've always tried to maintain that back from the road so it doesn't create a traffic hazard. And we were asking if we would be allowed to go ahead and place that in that location. And you have a list of some of the signs, and then in looking through the ordinance in greater detail, some of the signs, we have special events there. We may need to put out 8 or 10 that direct people to special event parking, which appears to be fine in the course of that ordinance. But then some of the other signs that we put out don't appear to be authorized under that. Like now, when we have special events, of course, we have to go through Homeland Security, we have to go through the Board of Health now to get authorization to have those events. And so, you know, we put signs out that say 6-foot social distancing and some of the current or some of the events that are coming up. And I'm not exactly sure how to handle that, since the town's ordinance specifically limits the signage on park property. So I guess I have a couple of questions there. One, can we get authorization to go ahead for that sign? Because that is one of the major ways that we do notify the public, because not everybody looks at the internet every day. Although sometimes it seems like it. And also I have no idea exactly how to handle the other temporary signs. I know that in there, in the ordinance, it says you need to give 3 days notice and stuff like that. But our intent is not to play cat and mouse, it's just to do it right and going down the road. So I don't know what the answer is there.
Well, the ordinance was passed in 2018, went into effect in 2019. And if you follow it, this is where it leaves us. So, I'm not sure exactly how to go about it either.
I know, I'm looking at the part that says unless specifically authorized.
Right.
And I don't know if the council can specifically authorize those things. I mean, geez, it looks like on those sheets that I gave you, I just tried to flood you with information, but in reality, no, because that's just what we do. That's just one of the things that we do when we put on a concert or a special event.
In 2019, my campaign was told I couldn't put a sign out on public property. And so I happily complied.
Yeah.
Then this year, people started showing up, putting signs out, nobody checked. So the ordinance says what it says. So I didn't pass it, but it's what it says. It's the
Yeah.
law, as far as I can tell.
Well, and I guess that's why I'm coming before you, asking you to specifically authorize the Park and Recreation District to put the sign there for those special events, and also, if necessary, to authorize us for the information signs that we need to put up for those special events.
So you're saying you think that the ordinance also applies to signs on park property?
Well, it specifically says in any park or other public property.
Even
And-
your own signs?
Yeah, the way I'm seeing that, unless you see it, that's,
I have.
Is it?
I have
Okay.
it pulled up in front of me.
I asked
I'm
her to
having a hard-
review it too.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that this prohibits Mooresville from putting up signs on its own property.
Yes, it does.
So I'm scrolling back to the beginning of this to see if there's an exception for government.
No,
Is it-
not that I saw.
It doesn't seem, that would be like telling a private homeowner that he can't put up signs on his own private property.
You're
It's
correct.
the same concept.
Yeah.
So I did not anticipate Mooresville coming up and asking me a question about this.
Yeah, and you know, and also, and I just realized this a while ago. I'm not sure in ordinance 1-2020 that we put in there that the park board needs to authorize signs that are erected on its property. Even though the town's ordinance may control that, the park board should ultimately control signage that's installed on their property. And I just don't remember, we were so concerned about guns and drones and alcohol and all those things.
Shane, you said that somebody told you no.
Hmm.
Who?
I
don't
come-
remember the council.
What's that?
Did you?
No, I didn't come to the council, I came to the administrator. Actually, I think I emailed Tim Bennett directly because, and then found out through Tim and Dave that we weren't allowed.
Gotcha.
Because it,
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I missed one of the meetings.
that was in 2019. It's just that most people don't know, either don't know or don't want to ask permission. But when you run for office, the state gives you a pamphlet that tells you to make sure you contact the property owner before you put a sign out, and that includes municipalities. So that's what I did. And I was told no. So I was pretty surprised when I saw all the campaign signs this last May go up, because I thought, well, they're not following the ordinance. But there's all kinds of people that don't follow the ordinances.
Sure.
And it may be that the ordinance needs amended, but that's what it says. So I didn't think it's gotta be applied equally in my view, or it's setting the town up for a lawsuit, in my view, but.
Well, he's correct that, at least to the extent that it does allow this body to make an exception for signs in a public right-of-way, but the public park or other public property, it does not, this council doesn't have the discretion to grant that. I'm still trying to look and see if there's exceptions, I'm sorry.
Sure.
When there's administrative action, Dave Moore would be the administrator. From what I read, when there's administrative action to remove a sign, the way to appeal that's through the BZA, like a variance. But I don't know if that applies to them, because the administrator really didn't take an action in their case. They didn't willfully continue to put the sign up. They took it down, and now they're here. And the way I read is the council can grant them permission, but
To
you're
put a
saying
sign in a right-of-way,
that not on their property.
not on public property according to this, not on public park or other public property.
To amend the ordinance, would
Which-
this have to go to planning commission first?
Yes, this is a zoning ordinance.
Tonight, I'm not asking you to amend.
Oh, I know that. But she's saying,
I'm still not convinced that you can't do that. You can't, are you telling me that you can't even put up
Yeah.
a sign of Mooresville sign
So
on your own
That's-
property? That's what we
the
think?
way- But what I read in the ordinance, the town has like 50 signs up that say, "Welcome to Mooresville" on all the light poles, on the utility poles. Well. in-
Right, and I get it. Right here it says you can't have any on traffic control and
well,
on
they are
utility,
traffic control. It says
utility poles. Yeah,
So
it
that's-
just,
It would be okay if it didn't
Seems
say,
odd.
"Welcome to Mooresville," because a mural is allowed, but one that has the business name on it is not. I don't know, it's like anything else, you try to do the best you can, and there's always some things that fall through the cracks.
Can I ask one silly question? Tom helped write this and I've never asked him. Can we hear from Tom on this?
Sure.
We employed, hired David Lazar to help us write this. At the time, the state of Indiana was working on their political sign language when they did that. The unique thing about it was we did write it to where, and she knew that the language was coming, but UDO is a living, breathing organism that we have to stay on top of. And the state was working on their political sign was, even if it's in the right of way, the way it's written today, even if it's in the right of way, you still have to get the property owners that's affected by it. In other words, you can't just go and start dropping political signs along planting strips. If that homeowner says, hey, that's on the other side of my sidewalk, I don't support that candidate. So there was a lot of things there that went on. In our prior planning and zoning book, we didn't call it UDO then, it basically gave the same opportunity, and the political parties were giving a carte blanche, hey, go ahead and put them out there. Let's just stay within the state guidelines on dates when you can put them out there and when they have to come back. But we're going to make them ask. And that's the way that, on the advice, that's the way that we wrote it. We approved it in 2018 to take effect in 2019. 2019 was an election year. Shane and Jeff were both running. No one came and asked. Shane said he was told no. I think Shane was told this is the rules. Just like the incumbents who were running against, they knew the rules, but they didn't ask either. No one asked. No one asked. Shane did ask about the rules. There's the rules. It's his choice not to do it. Now, to say that no one was allowed to do it, a little bit of a misnomer. We all had signs out here to early voting, tents out. We were all on right of ways. We just didn't do it at that common place where everyone did, on the island. 2020 came along, and the people that started putting their signs out, they didn't know that anything had changed. They didn't know we had a UDO. So no one's asked. No one's asked. The intentions were to give a set of guidelines that, yes, you can put your political signs out at the state, and they have to match the state's requirements at all times, which are also ever-changing. I'm going to tell you this, the way that I interpreted that was, anyone can put a sign in their own yard as long as it meets the requirements. You can't put a business sign that I think is over 6 square feet of space. Now, when I say anyone can put a sign in their yard, that includes the town of Mooresville. And our yard is the park. So that's the way that I interpreted it at the time. And I know that Ms. Copeland is struggling there, but maybe we didn't put the language in there that way. I know we addressed wayfaring signs, we addressed abandoned signs, but we also didn't want the fireworks signs and the going out of business furniture signs along the state highway and along our right of ways. That was the goal and the intent. It was not necessarily to tell someone no, never. It was to make sure that someone at least asked. If the going out of business furniture store comes up tomorrow and says, I want to put these all along, we can say no. That was the way that I was. That's where my thought process was on during the writing process and during addressing all of these issues. At no point in time did I think that we couldn't put a sign up in the park that says, can't park here, restrooms out. At no point in time did I interpret it as that. I interpreted it as, I'm going to put a sign in my yard.
It doesn't really matter how it's interpreted, it's a matter of how it's written. Isn't that,
I disagree with that. We found out at the last meeting with nepotism. I mean, it was good before, but not today. So yesterday it was good, but not today. So we're finding that out with all these. So it's how you interpret it.
So I guess if it needs permission from the legislative body, I don't know, we could word it that if it's our property, we can put our sign on it. I don't know. I don't even know if we want to do that. We, you know, for years and years, one of the former council members, he worked for Power and Light. He climbed poles. He became a member here, and he said that the nails in those poles were hurting a lot of people, and that's where that started on. We're not going to put signs in the poles. And the one there, Carlisle and Indiana Street, I think it's got 1 million nails in it. And you know, for years, everyone hated that, but now when you look at it, it's kind of nice and pretty. So, that was the thought process. You were on the planning commission, this went through the planning commission. I mean, was there any discussion on that? I know that you guys approved it, I know that it came to us.
Discussion on the sign ordinance, you mean? I don't remember a discussion about it. So, not that I remember, I would have to go back, but.
Dave was also
I don't
on that.
remember.
I was on the commission as well. I can't vividly remember specific sign discussion.
I can't even.
the problem with passing an ordinance that's subject to interpretation year after year is that the people that pass it eventually die or get off the council. You have to have the document to go by. So I don't get the idea that we do law by interpretation. It's written, no signs. I mean, it's pretty clear. And the state, to comply with state guidance, I mean, the state, I saw guidance from NDOT this election season saying no signs in public right-of-ways, period, along state roads, correct? You ran. Yeah, I saw it on Facebook. They even had so much trouble, they made Facebook announcements about it. So, I mean, if it needs amended, it needs amended, but
So what I've been doing this entire time is I went to the definition section, and there
Yep.
are, oh, I'm sorry, I scrolled too fast. I think there are 22 different definitions of signs. So I'm trying to read them as fast as possible because I still don't believe that the intent was ever to tell the government they can't put signs on their own property. So if you want to continue to debate, and I'll continue to read while you're.
Tell me yes or no on the sign.
I'm sorry?
Dave has the authority to tell me yes or no on the sign, correct?
Yes, he is the administrator
Can
that.
you put a sign up?
Let's not put him on the
Put a
spot.
sign up.
I mean, again, it depends on you have, that's the beauty and the not so beauty of ordinances is you have to cross-reference different
Yeah.
sections. So it says see definition of sign, which is
Sure.
what I've been scrolling down to do is see and there's 22 definitions of signs. So before Dave can go tell somebody he has to take down a sign, he has to make sure that it's not legally placed there. Right?
Well,
And I'm
just-
not convinced that your own signs are illegal on your own property.
But
Because I would never tell a private homeowner your sign is illegal on your property.
right.
So I understand, yes, the ordinance does say you can't put signs in right-of-ways, but I do believe that is intended for local businesses putting them on the government's property, or I have a garage sale, I'm putting it on this property, or I have a political sign. The content of it doesn't matter, we can't discriminate it on the content of it, but I don't think it is our own signs on our property.
Well, we told the party chairman, the administrator said no political signs and sent it to all the parties at the same time. So if you turn around and let the park do it, does that discriminate against the political party?
The political party doesn't own the property.
That's what I'm trying to determine is the difference. The political party has the right to put their own political signs in front of their campaign. So should the government have the right to put their own signs on their own property? And I'm just trying to see whether or not the definitions authorize that before I really give any kind of a legal opinion. I'm trying to read fast, I promise.
Should we move on? What's that?
I told Dave, if I was Dave, I'd let him put a sign. No.
You want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we let him put a sign. Anywhere, yeah, anywhere on our right there.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, is that all right with you just to go ahead and,
Well, yeah, that's definitely allowed in the ordinances that you can make, if it's prohibited, you can make an exception. But I might be emailing you later to say you can go ahead and do it because it's
Okay.
allowed.
so
But-
we're gonna just deal with the signs on the public right of way tonight and then deal with
Well, I
his
think-
own signs at another time or another motion?
No, as I understand it, you're here only for park signs. You're not here discussing any private person signs.
No.
No, but he's got
And-
two issues, one on the public right of way, and then two.
Is in the park.
His park signs in the park.
And
Can you put 'em in-
3 is, I don't really remember on ordinance 1-2020 if we address signage in there, because the park and rec district board should have authorization on final approval on signage in the park, even though it has to go through the town safety.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to allow the sign on public right of way. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna vote no, because I think we need to be consistent. If we let them do it, we should let others do it too. Or change the ordinance and do it right. That's my opinion.
Shane, I had to release a bunch more emails on this subject. I requested that from Julie 4 months ago and have yet to hear a response. Would it just be easier to amend the ordinance?
That would be, I think that would be my preference to solve the issue that the ordinance is presenting, which I think it's nothing against the park, but sometimes the way to eliminate a problem is to let the law come out. That's what's happened here.
What about flamingos though?
Yeah, I saw that.
Somebody put a flamingo out today.
So
So do we want to address the signs on public property in the same manner then, or wait till you have a chance to review?
If you want to continue to, if you guys feel strongly and want to change the language of the ordinance, you can certainly have conversations about that now. I would need to know the direction you want to take in order to amend the ordinance.
But it'd have to go to planning commission first, correct?
Yes, but that doesn't mean you can't have a conversation. If you guys feel strongly about something, you could have a conversation about it, since this is your opportunity to speak.
Can we have
You can't privately meet and discuss this.
Right, can you review it for us and see how it compares to other local?
Certainly,
parks?
and I can send an email.
And see if it makes sense?
I'm gonna reach out to Deb Lazar. She helped us to write it. She's written several of them. She's currently writing, I think, Carl, I don't know who else. So,
I was corporation counsel for Kokomo for 5 years. Signs were a thing up there too, and we did signage up there, so I can
I mean, I do,
go around that too.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. I do think sign litter is a problem. I do think it looks a lot cleaner without it. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't entertain ideas to make the ordinance better.
So did you vote on this?
Yes.
second.
We
They're
voted.
passed.
You
Okay,
can put up signs in your right of way.
okay.
Do you want us to vote on the signs in the park just to eliminate that question?
I would appreciate that,
Okay.
just so.
Motion to allow him to put signs in the park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Whereabouts?
I'm gonna vote no. I'm voting no for the same reason. I think the ordinance needs to be amended.
Does this mean I can't sublease that space?
Yeah.
Flamingos and the island.
Okay, no animals.
Fur in.
Okay,
I don't.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would really, I'll make a motion to, on the political signs, we gotta got an election coming up, and it's gonna be another hot topic.
Okay.
I think that was our intent, was a political sign. Do you want a motion on political signs?
Sure.
Okay, before we get into this though, I would like to caution, once we start getting into the content of
Okay.
signs, that's when we find ourselves in a situation of discrimination.
Okay.
You can't discriminate, you cannot
So that-
allow or not allow a sign based on its content. You can only do it based on location, time, place, and manner are the things you're allowed to restrict.
What if the request is made by political parties? A political party?
If a political party would have standing to come up here and you'd have to do it, you'd either have to ban it for all of them or for none of them.
That's right.
But they would have to be the ones that would allow that. I would caution the government body to make a restriction on content without
Good catch.
somebody requesting.
Good catch.
I
I rescind my motion.
I have a heartburn issue with constitutional issues.
Okay, so new, department head reports.
Let's see. I think probably everyone's seen the dirt work going on at the school. I think that's a great project. They're sending the water away from Goose Creek to the west, and in doing so, I stopped and the contractors there gave us several loads of good topsoil, so we won't have to buy dirt for quite a long time. Guys have been out doing stormwater work. A lot of catch basins are starting to deteriorate. We're constantly repairing those, constantly trimming along the edges of the roads and alleys. Kind of a neat little fun fact. The permits that we issued last year at this time totaled 87. So far this year, we've issued 153 permits. So it's quite a stark difference. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Permission for what then?
Just building permits.
Why is that? Because of the tornado?
No, we really didn't issue too many, well, several to Shane, but not too many for that.
I'm having to buy a third one now.
But it's accessory
Get 'em,
buildings,
think they don't like 'em.
swimming pools,
Okay.
some single-family homes. But- Thank you.
Hey Dave, real quick, on the signs, I just want to clear one thing up. He made an administrative decision on the political signs and made a decision, mailed them letters from him. When I read that, it says to appeal that, it has to go to the BZA. I don't know that we can override him on that decision.
The council?
Yes.
Correct. He, according to the UDO, he has the authority to send somebody notice that their sign is not, if it's a temporary sign, they have 3 days to remove it. If it's a permanent sign, they have 30 days to remove it, and that has to be appealed. I believe it is to the BZA.
So does his letter from earlier in the election cycle count for the whole election cycle, or does it count until he decides to change his mind?
He can't change his mind. It's what the ordinance says. I guess if they came back and put up another sign, he would.
But what I'm saying, the park came and asked us permission. The political campaigns did not. They went ahead and put their signs up. He made a decision and said, no signs. So the remedy for the chairman of the political parties would be to go to BZA, correct? Or can he overrule himself and send a new letter out and approve the signs? You see what I'm saying? He made the decision. I don't think we can override his decision on the political signs. Only the BZA can.
I think you're correct. Can I pause that? Because I think I found the definition that I've been searching
Okay.
for. That'll help the parks director put your signs back up. So the UDO specifically allows wayfinding signs. Can I take this down just to talk? I'm sorry. A sign erected by the municipality that displays necessary identification information for the convenience and safety of residents and visitors and containing no advertising. This includes government erected signs found along major streets that display company logos for lodging, gasoline, restaurants, and other such establishments. This also includes directional signs that provides information regarding location, instructions for use, or functional directional information. I think that allows you, that's authorized by the UDO, that falls into that exception of you cannot put on public property unless authorized herein. I think that authorizes you to put your signs back up.
So you didn't need my motion?
I don't need your motion, but I like I appreciate you tried to help expedite it. I knew that was definition number 21 of 22. So I've been trying to reach. So to answer your question, I still believe that the government is authorized to put its signs up on its own property. That the intent, that the reading of the UDO, regardless of the intent, is that it's private owners, private persons trying to put signs on the government's property. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
So political or not political, I don't believe that private persons can
But
put
since
signs
he
on.
made a ruling, their remedy would be to go to the BZA, correct?
The campaigns that.
Yes. Because
Yes.
he made it and took administrative action. The council
Correct.
did not.
And I don't know, but they might be beyond their statute of limitations for that. I don't know if there's I'd have to go back and see if there is a time frame for when he denies that, if they have
Will
to
you
come
get with
back.
him and instruct him?
It's not his burden at this point, it would be the campaigns to appeal it. He's made his decision, so if the
Okay.
campaigns have a problem with it, it would be their
They
responsibility
go to
to appeal.
BZA. The BZA.
Yes, to appeal, uh-huh.
Okay. Sorry, Dave.
The appeal goes to the BZA on non-permanent signs, on temporary signs, or does the appeal go on permanent signs?
I'm scrolling.
Maybe go on.
Did you have a department head report?
So in light of everything that happened last week, I don't have anything, but I want to take time to thank you, the council, for the support. So, thank you.
Thanks for all you did.
You're welcome.
Legal, you're up anyway.
Oh. On the abatements,
Yes.
there should be
Linnell.
5 separate abatements in front of you. 3 were added. They are the same taxpayer, but different I think 2 are resolution 1026 and then 1126, 1120, yes, 2016, I'm sorry, not 06, 16, for both real and personal property. They have been reviewed. It's our legal opinion that they substantially comply with the commitments that they intended, that they originally made when you allowed the abatements. In fact, they've exceeded in some areas. For example, on current number of employees, they estimated 83. On one CF form, they actually have recorded 99 employees. On another, they've recorded 95 employees. They've exceeded in salaries as well. They estimated 3.3 million and their actual is at 5.2 million.
So are there 2 CF1s, or you said 3?
I have 5 total documents. There are three CF1s,
Okay.
1 for personal property, 2 for real property. I have a Form 322 on real property and a Form 103 for an ERA.
Okay.
You want them individually?
Yeah.
One motion individually. Motion to approve, compliance form 1, for resolution 2, 2014, for real property improvements within that division.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to approve CF1 for Resolution 10, 2016, for personal property for Linnell Division of Estimate.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to approve CF1 for Resolution 11, 2016, for Linnell Division of Estimate.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Is that it?
That's all I have. I'm still
Okay.
looking at signage. It is the BZA for both
Okay.
temporary and permanent.
This one got separated. What's that now? You said it is BZA?
It is BZA for both temporary and permanent.
Permanent, okay. That's how I read it, but any other from legal?
No, not unless there's questions.
Next item, public comments. Does anybody else from the audience have anything they'd like to add? Seeing none, oh,
Will I come up to the mic?
yes, sir, yep.
Sorry, this is my first time here, so if I do anything wrong.
Just state your name and address and.
All right, my name is Justin Sprinkle. I live at 137 Ashbury Ridge. You have to forgive me, my throat's a little dry.
137.
Ashbury Ridge,
Ashbury Ridge.
46158. I come before you today regarding the events last week involving the removal of signs and the ordinance which calls for it. This is the first time we have seen this ordinance enforced on such a grand scale, and I think any reasonable person seeing a Just Be Kind sign removed from a small garden next to a mailbox, or a drive slow children playing sign being removed, is left shaking their head saying something is wrong here. I know the argument exists that says these 2-foot strips of grass under this title or that title are technically public property, and that is all well and good. Going by the letter of the law, this purge was carried out correctly, save for the fact that no notice was given. I cannot speak for others, but my anger at this is not that folks were not given the notice, but that such an action would even be considered, notification or no notification. While we do live in a land of laws, America was not founded on overbearing laws that have no relation to one's freedom, liberty, life, or pursuit of happiness. I can't argue as to what Washington, Jefferson, or Franklin would say in instances such as these. I have a hard time seeing them sitting around Independence Hall discussing if someone could put up a sign that read, "Give me liberty or give me death," on land that they maintain directly in front of their home. And I have an even harder time seeing them passing a bill or an ordinance outlawing such actions. I know that this current body is not responsible for the drafting of this ordinance. That has been argued many times, and while I understand the merits of that argument, it has no bearing or relation as to if this is right or not. America is not great because we simply enforce laws that were on the books before we got there. American history is in fact littered with the corpses of bad laws that stood in contrast to the Constitution and the words found in the Declaration of Independence. Our shared responsibility is not simply to enforce the laws that came before us as if they are chiseled in stone. To embrace that logic is quite frankly un-American. Think of the consequences if every leader simply enforced laws that were on the books when they found themselves in office. Slavery would still be legal, women would not be able to vote, schools could still be segregated, and alcohol could still be illegal. While this current body may not be responsible for the crafting and passing of these laws, you are responsible for the decision to enforce these laws. History does not look kindly upon those who simply throw up their hands and say, "I was just following the law," when that law is overbearing or worse. It does celebrate those who have the courage to call out wrong and the necessary laws and seek to change or abolish them. And thank you guys for kind of realizing that maybe we need to switch this up instead of just saying, "Yep, that's the law." So I'm glad to see that you're doing that. In defending this decision, the town council president has often alluded to that this is the will of the majority. America is not run on the will of the majority. I saw a poll the other day that said 52 or 53% of Americans want to abolish the Electoral College. Should we get rid of it just because the majority wants to? I hope not. Even if today's majority is righteous, tomorrow's could be unjust. Our founders recognized this and set the foundation of this great nation on a solid cornerstone of not setting up a system of governance based on the will of the majority, but a system of governance that, to the best of its ability and in the hands of honorable men and women, ensures basic rights, justice, and freedom for all. I'm reminded of a quote that said something along the lines of, "A politician is worried about the next election, a statesman is worried about the next generation." Statesmen founded this country and kept their eyes on the future generations. I implore the members of this body to consider the precedent set by defending the righteousness and justness of a law based on its popularity amongst the citizenry. I challenge members of this council to take off any partisan lenses and put aside any hard feelings from past actions and do the right thing for all the citizens of Mooresville. Our Constitution's authors may lay in rest, but over 200 years ago they did the right thing by setting up laws that celebrated and protected freedom. We must view any laws or ordinance through that same lens. And any law or ordinance that makes it illegal to put a sign on land that you maintain and care for directly in front of your home cannot be seen as anything that passes that high bar of consideration. It sounded like earlier we were talking about park signs. As you guys look at these laws, I hope you will consider what you've set up, because Shane is right. The precedent's there. We should not live in a town where you can't put a "Just Be Kind" sign next to your mailbox. So I hope you look at that as you guys look at this ordinance in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Next item, motion for the approval of claims.
I'll make the motion to approve claims in the amount of $2,477,918.20.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Town council comments. Councilman Cook?
None.
Councilman Worthing?
I will say that I did have, I'm not shunning responsibility. I did have a lot to do with the UDO. I sat on the board when we drafted it. I voted on it when it came to us. All in all, as a whole, I'm pretty proud of it. It was not trying to limit one person's rights to the point that we were getting a lot of signs that say, I hate Tom, instead of just be Tom. And that's what we're trying to do, is not limit it to, you only put up signs that says you hate Tom, not everyone else. So I'm not going to shun responsibility on that. I did have something to do with it. And as a whole, the UDO is a major improvement over what we had. But it is a living, breathing document that we need to address at times. So I just want to make sure that
You know, I apologize when we make mistakes, but I also want to take responsibility when we do something. Okay? Yeah.
I commend you on that. I simply meant as the whole board.
Well,
You got a lot of people that had no idea this was happening, and I don't want them to think, you know, Mr. Cook, you, Mr. Stanley, Ms. Hester, Mr. Williams are the ones that started all this. So I just want to say that this whole body was responsible. I understand a couple of you were responsible for passing. At the same time, I understand that maybe everything that's transpired was not the intent of what you passed. But thank you for your reply.
That's it.
Okay, Councilman Stanley.
Just real quick, I want to personally thank Assistant Chief Dalton. Being at the funeral with them was truly humbling, and one of the highlights, most probably humbling experience as a council member, and the work he put in, and just, if you weren't there, I found a penny today and I kept it. So, thank you.
Councilwoman Hester. Councilman Stanley, you gave a eulogy at the funeral, correct? Or you spoke at least?
I spoke there.
Yes, I want to thank you for that too. He's our liaison, so thank you for doing that. I'm sure it was well received. I don't have any comments, any further comments. The next meeting date will be Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, and I believe that's when Ashbury Ridge will be on the agenda, correct? So we will hear that then. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
It was nice to meet all of you.
See ya.
Story of Lazarus is my
Did we get
favorite.
everything signed?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, did we miss you?
But for a very different reason. I don't know if you